And we are back for another casual conversation with the Classic, and I am here today with none other than one half of the MLW Tag Team Champions, EJ Nduka. How are we doing? How are you today?
Doing good, blessed, alive. I'm breathing. Thank you, Justin, for
everybody. And I was like, holy smokes, this guy is huge. And AJ's like, oh, you haven't met him yet? That's EJ, and I've seen you. We have the mutual friend with Emilio who's like, yo, you got to get EJ on the show. Yeah. And I'm like, no, we're definitely going to do it. So I'm really glad to have you here. And congratulations, new MLW Tag Team Champions. That's with right. Calvin Tankman. That's pretty exciting. How was that experience? To start off with that,
it was dope. It was a good opportunity, and working with Calvin Tankman, he's a beast. He's a good guy. We're the World Tag Team Champions of MLW. We are the hustle, and we are the power, and we're ready to shock the world.
No, I'm looking forward to it. And you guys are beasts in the ring, both of you together. Just so much like power and just like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to use action, but like when something's like a collision and it's just hard hitting, like that's you guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's some good stuff. I'm gonna take it back to start off though, because I want to get people to know who you are a lot better. So I usually like to start with this question, being the wrestling classic and talking about old school wrestling. What were your earliest memories of wrestling, and did you have any early inspirations going on?
Oh, no question. My earliest memories of wrestling is definitely WrestleMania 17. That was actually the first WrestleMania that I got to watch. It was little tidbits of it because, you know, my family, we didn't grow up with pay-per-view money, you know?
Yeah.
And
you didn't have the black box experience?
We had the black box, but the screen was jumping. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't. It wasn't too clear. We had to watch it like this just to see.
I've actually watched wrestling, that little squiggly screen. I think that's where I saw the Undertaker return on his motorcycle. I'm like, it's the Undertaker, and it was just like all squiggly, just trying to see what's happening.
Exactly. That's exactly how I watched it. And then, you know, I just instantly fell in love with The Rock. Like, he was just a staple. He was an icon. He was an athlete that looked like me. And one of the most memorable things I can think of is how, you know, he always called people jabronis.
Yeah.
Nobody know what jabroni meant. It was an insult. Sometimes it was endearing, but I took that, and that was my first AOL screen name. It was Jabroni 808. It was my first screen name. And,
it's true, though, because I think when kids were walking around calling people jabronis, nobody knew what it meant. We're just calling everybody jabronis. I think my first MSN Hotmail name was like towards the Undertaker. It was like he was like the American badass, and I was a Canadian blood. I don't know what it was, so I can relate. I understand. So prior to like pursuing professional wrestling, though, you had a background in both football and bodybuilding. Initially, football. You did some stuff with the NFL. You got drafted and whatnot. You also played for what I'm very aware of, the Canadian Football League. Give us a little bit of a background on all of that.
So, and in high school, I was really a basketball star and a track star, and I dabbled with football. Football was actually my first sport. It wasn't until I got to college where I started to really take it seriously. You know, my coaches around me was like, "Hey, man, you got what it takes. You got a work ethic that we haven't seen in a long time." And, you know, and I'm like I talk about all the time. I'm first generation born here in the United States, but my family's from Nigeria, and so they came here with nothing in their pocket, nothing but hopes and dreams. And from a kid, all I saw was them working hard, double jobs. And, you know, there's 5 of us. I'm the oldest of 5. So that was my normal. Like, when people weren't working hard, I was like, yo, what's my man over here doing? Yo, like, that's what was my norm. And it was my normal for a very long time till I really realized, like, you know, that my parents really instilled some determination and hard work into me. But, you know, I focused when I got to college. I came in as a receiver, quickly moved to linebacker and defensive end my sophomore year, redshirted, played with Sam Houston University. It was an excellent time, met wonderful people, awesome teammates that I still talk to today who also come out and support me in my wrestling shows anytime I'm in their city or they're in my city. It really molded me and gave me a foundation of, you know, who you see today, EJ Nduka. Not only EJ, but there's a lot of elements of football in the Judge.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you think you took from that period that you were playing football that you still carry with you into like the professional wrestling world? Because there's a lot of crossover. We've heard a lot of crossover football to wrestling, but I've always been curious, like, what do you take from football that you bring into the wrestling world?
Definitely determination.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Being able to go through the grind. You know, in football, we played in a playoff system in Division I AA. So we didn't get the easy 10, 11 game system like Alabama and all them. We had to earn our playoff spot, and then we had to go through the rigors of the playoffs. So we played 16
Yeah.
games at a very high level in all different types of weather, different things. You know, we had to go to school. We still had finals. You know what I'm saying? Rent still had to be paid. All the meanwhile, we're playing college football. And so determination, time management, and just how to be a teammate, how to be accountable. Those are the biggest things. And you know, you can always tell, like I always say this all the time.
Yeah.
There's two passports that are good everywhere: an athlete and the military. Once you tell somebody you're an athlete, and you're a high level athlete, they know what you have to go through to get to that point. Same thing in the military. That, you know, it's no joke. The military ain't no just you just show up and da 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 da. You know, there's still training programs, basic training, everything that you have to go to in order to get to where you want to be.
No, for sure. I actually just recently had Tahuti on. He gave his experience about being in the military.
Yeah,
And then when you hear it, you're like, whoa.
Guy.
Yeah. Huh? No, and he's both. Yeah, that's correct.
He's both.
Yeah.
So he's a rare breed.
Yeah. And also it's like, I like how you pointed out that it was about also learning how to be on a team, because obviously there's a very competitive side to professional wrestling that's always going to be there. Yeah. But when you're working, like say for example, right now you're working with MLW. It's a popular company. But it's still a little bit smaller than the ones that are a little bit more mainstream. And I feel like there's a really big team mentality there in that process. And I think you probably bring that team mentality and that experience you had to MLW, and it's just a good atmosphere for the entire locker room, you know?
Yeah, you're exactly right. MLW is more of a brotherhood. It's a lot of camaraderie. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are here that are hungry. They have the drive, they have the aptitude, they have the skill set that may not have been seen by some of these larger companies or whatnot. But you know, MLW is on the map now, and everybody that's sleeping on it, we here to wake your ass up, because there's some cats in here that are come to play, man. We got some huge, heavy hitters.
And people don't give MLW the credit it deserves, because there's a lot of people that you are watching now on your other programs
that came from MLW
that really cut their cloth in MLW. That really cut their teeth in MLW and got their reps in and made their name in that company. And I think, like, I've watched on and off throughout the years. I watched through the Dynasty years when MJF was there and others. Like, I've seen all the people that have come through there, and it's really like, if people if you just watch WWE, for example, you look at NXT and then you see them go to the main roster. MLW is almost like it's getting people prepared for everything else. And in itself, it's growing as its own brand too. And it's becoming like that company that's must watch.
It's definitely grown as its own brand. But like you said, there's a lot of people that came here and, you know, kind of cultivated who they are, kind of like an incubator, and, you know, went on to doing what they're doing now. But MLW is really on the map, showing people that we're not here to play. We're not anybody's stepbrother. We're the promotion that's here to punch somebody in the mouth.
I know, and it's like, it's action. Like, if you like professional wrestling, like, it's action. They got quality matches every week. You guys should definitely check it out.
Good storytelling too.
That too, that's true. I mean, the characters there are insane.
The character development is unreal. Like right now, we're going through a series of inside look of, you know, some of the top athletes and MLW, and going in depth with people's background, who they are, their character, and, you know, what they stand for. And it's just giving a different perception of who we are, and just giving the audience a different look.
And it's really important. That's really important to give that background of the wrestlers that are wrestling in the company, and give them and kind of humanize them a little bit. Like, you have that docu-series that's coming out. By the time this drops, it'll already be out.
It'll be out, right?
On YouTube. But like, what was the process behind that? Was that to show who EJ is more behind the scenes and who you are from the beginning to now? Because like, we see you on TV, we know you're a badass. We see you in the tag, we know you can, you kick some ass for sure. But it's like, who's EJ? Obviously, situations like this conversation and that docu-series is to showcase that, right?
So basically, huge shout out to Federico, Emilio, Biff Lawson, Court Bauer, everybody out there. Let me tell you something. The production team in MLW is bar none. I'm talking about these guys came to play. I love their vision. Their vision coincides with how I'm seeing things. You know, I can say something once and just kind of pitch it off of them, and they're like, got it. Come back a week later, boom, have it all. And it's exactly how I envisioned it. When I got there, you know, originally, I came there and I was like the blue chipper, you know, 5-star athlete, the football guy. And I quickly told them, hey, there's levels to this. Like, that's just a part of me that, you know, who made it's a part of me that I cultivated the judge and made the judge. But I've got something to shake. I want to shake up the world. And I've got another layer to this. And kind of bounce my ideas off of Emilio, Biff, and Federico. And I basically told them, hey, this is what I'm seeing. They saw something in it, and we just went to work, and it just organically started happening. You know, they would just sit me down, and at first it was like, you know, do this half shoot, half gimmick, and I was like, yo, it's either one way or the other. I can't do in between, because the judge and EJ are different. Although they're the same, the judge is just turned up by 1,000. Yeah, and I don't want to come off, you know, super arrogant. Although I'm very confident, but also I want to tell my story. So we found the medium, we found the you know, the line in between, and we made this docu-series. You know, they came with me back to Dallas, and they found, not found, but we went to a gym that I used to train at. Actually, the owner opened up a new box, so we went to the gym where they're at. Shout out to Hidden Gym. Shout out to Greg and his wife. Thank you for allowing us to work out. And they just started shooting, and I had some friends in town. They interviewed them, and it just beautifully. It just came together so beautifully. They interviewed. They had sat down with my wife, my son, my parents, family members. At the first show, I think I had almost 80 people show up for me, from Life, because we were in my hometown. They got a lot of footage from there, and it's just been coming together beautifully. I know part 2 drops tonight, 7 p.m. on YouTube. Damn, the boy almost broke his chair. Right. But part 2 comes out tonight on YouTube, and so it's just basically just an inside look of who I am, where I came from, my early beginnings, and it really goes in depth of what I set out to do. You know, when I came into this business, people tend to separate the athletes and the workers. And when I say workers, I mean people who've been wrestling since day one. And then
the journeyman indie wrestlers and the people that come from the athletic world.
Right.
Most two.
And unless you in it, you don't really see it. And I wanted to bridge that gap, because I learned how to work pretty quickly. Like, I'm a sponge, and I pride myself in being a sponge, but I put the time in. I was in the PC, the Performance Center at the WWE. I was the first one there, last one to leave. Anybody will tell you, I was picking the minds of, you know, some of the people that you're seeing right now in AEW and WWE. I was in there with, you know, Austin Theory, just constantly picking his mind. Swerve, Tahuti was huge. Tahuti was damn near in all my classes. Tahuti came in knowing how to work, and so him being in my class, he helped expedite that process. Santana is incredible. She has a very creative mind, very sweet soul, and she just, you know, being so nice, she wanted to help. There's a lot of people that don't want to help you because they see they get intimidated, or they like, oh shoot.
It's indirect competitiveness of them. Where they think it's a competition, where it's like, once again, you come in with that team mentality where it's like, okay, it is competitiveness. There is a level of competition here, but it's better if we work together than work against each other.
Because I ain't never seen a wrestling match versus one. You know,
100%. It takes 2 to tango.
If you got one, send it to your boy. But I ain't never seen one. And that it's essentially a dance. You need 2 people to dance, and you need 2 people to be on the same page. And not everybody's like that, but there are a lot that are there to help you. And I just leaned on them. Some of the OGs, you know, I really picked their mind. Till this day, I still talk to Edge. I got an opportunity to sit down with John Cena. Even here in MLW, Davey Richards, Hammerstone, Fought 2, all these people that have been doing this. I'll go. There's no ego in me. I still go, bounce some ideas off of them, because once you stop learning is when you stop growing.
Yeah,
and
no,
I'll
100%.
be damned as to stop learning in this industry, because it's ever evolving. It's always evolving.
I think the best thing you said about MLW though was the fact that you said it very early on, is that the company as a whole, it's hunger. Everyone's hungry.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's like, I think when other companies that get to a certain level, and I'm not pointing fingers or saying anyone specifically, but there's a level of complacency. There's a level of like, we're good, we got this stuff down, where MLW is hungry, and I love that. Let's take it back one second, because I do have some questions about the PC, but really quickly, when did you make the decision to pursue professional wrestling? So you were playing football, you did some stuff at bodybuilding. When did you actually like, you know what? Like, did you watch wrestling the entire time? Did you stay a fan?
So that's a great question. I was a fan all the way up until, I would say, like a hardcore fan, keeping up with the storylines, till about my junior year in high school. I kind of slowed down, because that's when like the scholarship offers started coming in, and I had to start taking my sports really seriously, because that was in front of me, and that was going to change my life. That was what's going to get me out of the town that I was in. So I started, diving in, watching NBA more, NFL more sports that are not pen to papers. Real athletes show up, and the best win. And then after my stint, playing professional football for almost 5 years, I started getting into. I got into bodybuilding through my buddy Will Henry. He played college ball with me. He started bodybuilding, and at the time we were living together. And I remember I was sitting on the couch eating Whataburger, and I'm like, I can do that shit too.
Yeah, I love that you were sitting on the couch eating Whataburger, and you're like, I shit too.
I was like, I can do it too, just jokingly, just like, yeah, I could do that too. And he looked at me and he was like, all right. So, again, I started picking his mind, emulating what he was doing. And then I quickly started rising the ranks. I turned pro in less than a year and a half, which is like unheard of in IFBB. Like, normally it takes people anywhere between 5-10 years to turn pro. I turned pro, and I quickly started ranking. I got invited to the Arnold Classic. I placed at the Lou Frigno. I did a number of shows all over the United States, abroad, and I was placing really, really well. And I just had that drive, but in me, I still wanted to compete. I didn't want to just look aesthetically good. I still wanted to compete, because I still had the juice. I was still an athlete. So I wanted to do stuff. And oddly enough, I was in church, and my wife's best friend, Anastasia, she came up to me after service, and she said, EJ, you should look into becoming a wrestler. And at the time, I think I was like 26 or 27. And I looked at her and I said, Anastasia, have you drank too much of the communion wine? I think you've lost your damn mind. I said, how am I going to learn how to be a wrestler now? Like, where do I even start? And she's like, no, you really, she didn't have the answer, but she was just like, no, you really should look into it. And so I said, you know what? Whatever. So I will never forget, a couple days later, I was on the taking a dump, having a business meeting with myself.
That's the best place to do. That's what they happen all the time.
You know what I'm saying? That's what happens on the toilet. And I just started tagging WWE, started tagging some of the coaches that I'd followed or had seen online. And Scott Garland reached back out to me.
Oh, sweet.
And he said, I'll never forget. He said, hey, are you serious about this? And I said, yeah. And literally like 2 weeks later, I had a plane ticket, hotel room, rental car to come to Orlando, Florida for my first tryout. And I came, no training at all, nothing. Never took a bump, zero. And according to those who run the trial, they said I did really well, but they wanted to know if I really wanted it, if this was just a hobby. But they said, you really have to want this to get into this business, because it's not for everybody. So I went back home, and they called me back like, I think this is when Paul Fair was there. Shout out to Paul Fair. Such a solid stand-up guy. Such a solid guy. He called me back 4 or 5 weeks later, and he said, we never do this, but we want to invite you back, because you left such a good impression with all the coaches. They want to see you one more time. And if you do what you did on the first time, there'll be a contract for you. Basically, he said you ace the test the first time. If you come here and get an A++, you'll definitely have, you'll have the job. So I came.
I mean, that must have been really nice to hear. Like, that's, some positive.
Yeah, because I knew I killed it. To be honest with you, I was like, man, if you don't sign me, who you gonna sign?
Yeah, yeah.
I was doing backflips. I was doing crazy stuff.
We haven't seen half of this stuff yet. Okay.
Yeah, I ain't pulled out a lot of the stuff that I can do, man. I'm telling you right now. You gotta keep our
eyes open. Okay.
Yeah. I got a 42.5-inch vert, so jumping it comes naturally for me. And I came back for the second tryout. I did it was a 3-day process. By the end of the first day, I was told, like, you earned yourself a position with the WWE. So I was ecstatic. So I just went even harder the next 2 days just to make sure and let them know y'all ain't making a mistake.
Yeah.
Fast forward, got to the PC, met a number of people. My class that came in had some of the craziest athletes I've ever seen.
Who else was in there?
It was me, Austin Theory, Tahuti. We had Santana. Escobar, Santos, OG. I mean, full of knowledge. We had
Santos. That's
Santos. He was in the building. We just had so many people, and then the class ahead of us, directly before me, we had Odyssey Jones, Omos.
Odyssey's great too. Yeah,
and it was just a number of Bateman. Freaking Reggie.
Yeah,
Reggie was in the class with us right after us. Just incredible athletes. And, this is what I was around. So it was just like, okay. And we were just all motivating each other because a lot of those guys were former athletes, former people that are used to brotherhood and that camaraderie. So we were just growing. And then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And then everything just got shut down. Like, we didn't even go to the PC for weeks.
Oh, wow.
For weeks. And then a lot of us didn't even get PC live matches. We're just sitting at home, but a number of us was like, you know what, we're not going to just sit at home doing nothing. So Sydney and I, we started training. We were running, we were working out, we were going to any gym that would let us in. Shout out to Devon. Devon opened up his doors. We came in, we rolled, we worked with a lot of the main roster guys, and we just started expediting. And a lot of people don't know that. So when you see I keep saying Sydney's shooting it. When Reggie got his opportunity on Raw, that was something that he had been working for all through the pandemic. And why he did so well is because he was working, he was grinding, he was just sitting around.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people don't know that. And he's not one to toot his own horn, but I will say he's one hardworking dude.
Yeah, they put him in the character that he's in, but you can tell there's something there with him because he's super talented and he's fun to watch. But a couple of questions about this period then. First question, the name Ezra Judge. How did that come up? Was that your creation? Were you part of that creation? And just, I guess, generally, like, the Judge name, like, did it come from there? Was that something you were rolling with before? Like, how did this all come together?
So Ezra Judge, my real first name is Ezra Crestery. That's my full name. So Ezra is the beginning of my real name, and is also a biblical name. And so I loved it. The Judge came afterwards. I pitched, originally it was like Ezra Judah or something like that.
Okay.
But my boy Odyssey Jones, every time, we would come in to, be the audience for Raw or SmackDown, we had to clap or whatever. And every time I came in, Odyssey Jones would be like, the Judge is in the building, make a big deal. And
just be honest.
Yeah, it's just a nickname they gave me. The boys gave me. And so I like that shit. So I pitched it when they asked me what my name should be. And I said, Ezra Judge. And they said no like 3 or 4 times, but I was adamant. I was like, look, it's a hit. This is going to work. And then, finally it went through. And here I am. Now I'm just the Judge. Ezra Judge is no more, but the Judge really defines the character and the vision that I have for myself.
No, that's awesome. Recently we had the news that Triple H has retired from his in-ring career. He's someone that's very pivotal in the whole NXT Performance Center process. Was there anything you learned from Triple H, or any advice he gave you, or something you took while working with him during that time?
Oh yeah, Triple H is a straight shooter. In the limited time I had in NXT, anytime I had a chance to chop it up with him, I would. Ironically, the Friday before I got released, Wednesday, that Friday before I got released, I was chosen after having a good match at the PC underground match. I was chosen to go to Tampa to shoot a pilot for SmackDown. And it was a number of us there. And it was my first time to really just, chop it up with Triple H. And we had a great conversation. He just gave me some good advice. And part of the shoot that we were doing, I had to have a finish on a bigger guy. And he came up to me and he was like, "You're a big, strong guy." He was like, "I want you to do the Davey Boy finish." And Garland was there too. And I said, "Shoot, we were in a small ring and there was like 5 cameras in the ring, all different directions." And he could tell in my face that I was like, "Damn, I can do it." But I haven't done it with a crowded ring because Stephanie was in the ring too. So she was walking towards the hard cam and there was like 3-4 wrestlers in the ring having different spots. It was a crazy shot, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I can do it. But, on my face, you can kind of tell it's like, damn.
Well, nerve-wracking.
Yeah. So he told me a story about when him and Stone Cold had a match. They messed up like a $15,000 camera back then, and it was a funny story. But it kind of put me more at ease. And then I ended up, picking up the guy that I was with and doing the power slam, not once, but we did about 5 or 6 takes.
Oh, wow.
So basically, Triple H gave me my finisher that I use now in MLW.
That's awesome. And then the other move that you do a lot that always reminds me of Davey too, because it reminded me of Davey from when I was a kid, is I love the stalling vertical suplex.
Oh yeah.
And you do it, it's super impressive too. Because man, when I was a kid and I'd see Davey do that stalling vertical suplex, like you do it like on a Vader, I don't know how it works now, but back then I was like, "Yo, this guy's the strongest guy ever."
No, it is. So going back to that story, that was one of my favorite moves growing up as a kid too.
Yeah.
And when I never got an opportunity to do it at NXT because I didn't have any matches on TV.
Yeah.
So my first big main event at MLW, I literally said, "I want to do a stalling suplex to the biggest guy on the roster.
Oh, wow,
and I want to take my sweet ass time." And immediately Mr. Thomas just raised his hand. He's like, "I'll take it." And I was like, "You sure, bro?" And he was like, yeah. Super good guy to work with.
Yeah.
So, we went out there and we did it in the cage match, and the whole place went nuts. And that GIF really went viral on Twitter, and people were like, "Damn, that was pretty crazy."
No, I'm telling you, man, that stalling, the moves he hit are so impactful, they're powerful, they're impressive, and that's why I'm like, this guy's got some stuff going on.
Thank you.
That chapter closes, right? And it's a tough pill to swallow. But 2 things, and I think this would be good for anybody out there listening that is either wanting to pursue professional wrestling or is in the space right now and stuff. 1, what's one thing you learned from that experience that you took with you moving forward? And 2, what was your process of being like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going. This isn't over. What kept you hungry and bouncing back?
So the process after I got released was, that first couple of days, you're just in your head. You're just like, what the hell happened? You're just in your thoughts. But I will say, some people reached out to me, good brothers, Kofi, Kevin Owens, a number of people reached out and just was like, don't worry about what happened. Worry about what's next. Just keep working hard, and good things happen to those who, are due diligent. And, I sat down with my wife. My wife was my number 1 fan, number 1 supporter. And she was like, "Babe," because I really was like, you know what? Think about it like this. You give up everything and you give everything to something. And then all of a sudden they're just like, F you for no real actual reason. It's nothing that you tangibly did. It's just because of what's going on in the world. And so I was like, you know what? Let me go to something more that I can control. And my wife looked at me and she said, "No, babe." She said, "This is where you belong. You are a star. You've learned so quickly. You put in so much time." She said, "Do not quit." And I took that really to heart. And so I said, you know what? I'm not going to quit on my family. I'm not going to quit on my wife. And especially, I'm not going to quit on my son, because I don't want him to get older and see, oh, dad got released and he just gave up. Because I'm not going to be a woulda, coulda, shoulda dad. Oh, I would have did this, son, if I was there. I should have did this. I said, you know what? I'm going to prove to everybody that you made a mistake and that I'm here to change this damn industry. And so I went back to what I did best, and that's working hard, working out. And I had no connects in this industry. I didn't know who to call. I had nothing. So fortunately for me, people were calling me. Like at first I was just like, where the hell did y'all even get my number from? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of it was just, DMs, messages, people in other promotions that had worked with me that I went over there and was like, yo, this kid, can go. This kid got something. So I got an opportunity to talk. Oh, and before I even talked to any of these promotions, I made a vision board. And I wrote down 5 things that I wanted to do in the next year. 5 things that I could control, 5 things that I wanted to do. And needless to say, we're about 7-8 months in and I completed all of them.
Oh,
because
wow.
I spoke it into existence. Every day in the morning, I recited it. I have a alarm on my phone every day at 11 o'clock to recite everything that I want to manifest through Jesus, everything that I want to manifest through God. And my mind just, once I hear it, I'm going to do it. Once I hear it, I'm going to do it. And so and that was in that period is where I created the Judge. I put together and cultivated with all the inspirations that I grew up with, Denzel Washington, Wolverine. During this period, Chad Boswick had passed away, Black Panther, and all these influences. Kobe had passed away. And all these influences, the Mamba mentality, Wolverine, the tenacity of Wolverine, Black Panther, being the leader of the African kingdom, just all these things just started to combine and who I am as a person. And we created the Judge. Yeah. And that's why my trunks.
See it now. I can kind of see it now. Yeah.
And that's why my trunks have the X. The X is Wolverine. No, the X is actually for my son Exodus, but it also is that same X that Wolverine has on his trunks. Yeah. The claws is Black Panther. The purple is Black Panther.
Wow.
I have a Bible verse on the side. It's homage, Psalms 55:22. Cast all your cares upon the Lord. He will never let the righteous fall. Kobe was a huge believer in all his interviews. He always talked about Christ and his relationship with God. And so I'm paying homage to all these different people, and it just created the Judge.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, it's a beautiful thing. Like you're a father and you want to lead by example. And I think that's like the biggest motivation out there. Because one day if he wants to do something, like you're his example of, look, I went through some hard times too.
Mm-hmm.
I went through some stuff and I bounced back and I found a way to make it happen still. And you are making it happen as we speak.
And it's all documented too.
That's a beautiful thing too. Because he can grow up and watch this and be like, holy smokes, like there's a story here about my dad that like, he's probably too young to really understand right now. Has he come watch you wrestle yet? Has he?
Yeah. He was you're going to see in part 2 in the documentary today. Okay. He was there. He was in the ring. When I warm up and I stretch, he sits right next to me.
Is he a wrestling fan now? Like he's hooked?
Oh, he's only 15 months. So
so he's little.
He's still really, really little, but all he knows is daddy and mommy. And so whatever daddy wants to do, he wants to be by me. Whatever mommy's at, he wants to be by her.
There's nothing crazier than being a childhood wrestling fan. You got to watch out. We were bouncing off the walls. I sure was. I'll tell you that. Someone asked me, like, why have you never become a wrestler? Like, do you know how many bones I broke as a kid trying to be a wrestler? I ain't doing that. I'm going to try something else. That's awesome. That's awesome. MLW. How did you find MLW? Like, did they find you, or like, was it like, because it's almost like the perfect match for you right now. Like,
it really
any place would have been the perfect match for you right now. But I feel like from what you've told me so far, from what we've talked about, the freedom they've given you to be yourself and document yourself and show yourself. Like, I don't know if you would have got that anywhere else. Like you are right now in MLW. You pitch something to them, you give them ideas. We've talked about stuff off the air. You give them ideas and they listen, which is that's super cool. And it also shows just how involved and how much you care. So how did the relationship with MLW come about?
So, like I said, I went back to the drawing board and I started working out. And I was literally walking into the gym, and then I got a call. Actually, I got a message, and then I got a call that, hey, Court Bauer would like to talk to you at 4 p.m. Are you available? This is an opportunity with MLW, and said, yeah, sure. So I got on the phone, and one of the things that really stood out to me, before I talked to Court, I had talked to some other promotions and representatives from other promotions, but
yeah.
Court never asked me what happened. He never asked me, hey, are you really 6'7"? Hey, are you really a 5-star athlete? He was just basically said, you don't even have to put yourself over. A number of people already called me and told me the kind of person you are, what kind of athlete you are, and your worth ethic. He was like, he already had a plan of what he wanted to do with me, and he just pitched it to me. And I was like, damn, like this is very synonymous with what I want to do. And we just had a great conversation. Both our wives are attorneys. So he knew that I wanted everything in writing. I wanted this. I was like, okay.
He understood. He understood
I was like, yeah, no, nobody about to trick me again. But I trusted him. Like, I knew he wasn't gonna. I know he wasn't gonna sell me no wolf tickets. He was a good guy, very stand up, and he's very authentic and genuine. And it was just perfect. And I sat on it, thought about it for a little bit, talked to my wife, and then ultimately I said, let's pull the trigger on this. This is where I want to do. And I just saw the pedigree that came out of MLW, a lot of top star athletes that, are on TV today, main eventing every night. And so I knew MLW had the ability to cultivate what I already saw in me. And the one thing that I had told my wife, and the one thing that I kept saying is, I wanted to go to a promotion that believed in me as much as I believed in myself.
100%.
I didn't get that opportunity where I was before. Like they were like, oh yeah, he's a good athlete, this and this. But it's just like when you're playing sports as a kid, there's not that much time between when you play JV as a sophomore and then you go to varsity as a junior. The only difference between that period is the coach now believes in you, your teammates now believe in you, and you have to rise to the level. Your confidence now has to go up. And, before I got into this business, I was coaching high school basketball and high school football. And I would tangibly see the difference between when I got a guy his sophomore year and his senior year. I was still telling him the same things as a sophomore and a senior year, but the great players, a light bulb switch. They're like, okay, I'm in this position. I got to show up and show out. And not everybody's able to do that. But I know myself, I'm going to bet on myself every day and twice on Sunday, because everything that I need is already in me. And now I just have to learn the aptitude. I have to learn the different avenues that you can travel to get to the destination.
No, for sure. And I think there's a few things you can take from that. The biggest thing is I don't think they allowed you to rise to that opportunity in the where you were before, just because the timing and things that happened. So you found the place you did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you said you wanted to go to a company that believed in you as much as you believed in yourself. And when you came into that battle riot and eliminated like half the people, I think that proved. And for those that know, the battle riot is like a battle royal type situation that MLW does annually, and it's always a blast. There's always surprises in there. It can be a little entertaining with characters that do end up showing up in that thing. But you came in there like a ball of fire and tossed out like half the people. They definitely believed in you. Like they saw something.
That was my first TV match. That was my first match on TV. Yeah. A lot of people don't even know.
On TV, like just generally.
That was my first TV match. Wow. Like people were like, when I tell people that, they were like, yeah, man, I don't know why I didn't put you on TV. I said, that was my first TV match. Yeah. And so people were like, damn, bro. But I've been studying it for so long. I was like, yo, when I get a chance, I'm not fumbling the bag. Yeah. I'm not fumbling the bag.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And you've done a whole bunch of stuff since then too. There's that little period of the dynasty. Now you're doing your own thing. I got this tag team with Calvin. How did you and Calvin get together? Was that something that you you saw something in him, or you guys saw something in each other? And you're like, we should,
Oh, all that credit goes to Court. Court hit me up one weekend before one of our tapings, and he's like, hey, look, this is an idea I have. What do you think? And we talked for like an hour, just, bouncing off. And I was like, yo, I'd love to work with him. I've been trusting his vision right now for me. And I was like, yo, if you say it, then I'll do it. Like, let's go. And anything that I get involved with, I give 150%. That's what I told him. I said, we'll make it work. And the response that we got, because the first time we tagged was in Grady Cole Center in North Carolina, I was surprised how engaged and how authentic that crowd was. Like, yo, that TV episode doesn't really capture that place was because it's 2 floors.
Yeah.
That place was roaring when we won the titles. Like it was.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, this feels good. And we had just gone to Mexico with like 6,000 people.
Yeah.
And then, I'm not sure how many people were in Great Cole, but it was a packed house, and the energy, like the Judge comes alive when the energy is there, and it was for sure there. So I just want to say shout out to North Carolina. I love y'all. The fans were amazing, and Tankman and I appreciate the love.
Are you one of those people, now that you've wrestled on television or you can watch it back, are you one of those people that can watch your matches back, or are you one of those people that's like, it's still weird for you?
Hell yeah. I watch the hell out of my matches. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's the only way I can get better. I watch it back and I send it, some of the guys that I consider mentors, and I'm like, hey, what do you think? Give me honest critique, because honestly, you don't get better unless people really pick it apart. Like, I have no ego. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, it's art, this, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's art, but you also can get better, okay? And so I watch it all the time. I watch it with my wife, and I get it from a different perspective. I'll ask a worker, and then I'll ask my wife and just be like, what do you see here? What do you think I can work on? This and this and that. And I take both ideas, and, ultimately is my decision, and I just, take it all into consideration.
No, it's just because it's a common thing we always hear where wrestlers will be like, oh, I just can't watch myself back.
Yeah, I'm not other wrestlers. I'm telling you that right now.
Here's another way, and there's another thing to bring up that makes you not like other wrestlers, because from the beginning of your story of like how you got noticed by Scott Garland and Scotty Too Hottie when you were you use social media, you were tagging WWE.
Right.
From your opinion, because your social media has been great, you're always putting out these great reels and stuff. How important is social media today when trying to achieve your goals, or get yourself exposure in this space?
Is crucial. I'm actually a business major and a biology minor in college, and my emphasis was management and marketing. And we had case studies and we had opportunities. We saw businesses that had incredible marketing, incredible drive, and they put their product in front of the right niche, the right people, and it just blew up. Like, for example, look at Tesla. Tesla's been out for a fraction of how long Ford has been out, GMC, but their numbers are almost 200% more than some of these other guys. This is because of their marketing, their presence, the word of mouth, just delivering a good product. And it's the same thing on social media. Like, there's a number of guys in the business right now that came to me when I signed at WWE. Was like, yo, bro, how do you do this? How do you do that? You do really good on social media. Can you help me do this? And I would help them. A lot of the people you interviewed came up to me and asked me, because I ain't gonna name drop it. Like,
no, for sure.
But they came up to me.
There's a lot of people that come up to me and ask me the same question. I believe you.
And they say, hey, how do you take pictures like that? How do you do this? How do you do that? And I saw it started to spread like a wildfire. Like, before I got to NXT, nobody was taking pictures in front of the NXT logo dressed out. Nobody was doing that. I started doing that. Nobody was wearing Jordan 1s or like showed in their outfits. I started doing that. And I have receipts. Like, I was doing that as a nobody, as a PC talent. Because I wasn't getting televised matches. I wasn't getting on the coconut as often as I would like. And I was like, even though I'm here, they're gonna see me, even though they don't see me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, 100%.
So I started doing all that. And then when I actually started wrestling and getting an opportunity in the ring and combining it with all that stuff, my social media just blew up.
Yeah, because there are a lot of people that have people like managing their social media, but like you create content, and just because we've talked about, like, I know you're doing it, like a lot of it yourself, or it's your idea at least, like you're behind it. And then now hearing your story about like, well, when I wanted them to notice me, I just kept putting posts up and tagging WWE. I'm like, he gets it. Like, he gets the power of social media, because there is a weird, sometimes negative. Once again, I'm not going to drop any names, but I once reached out to a company and they asked me why they should have a budget for social media, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, and it's crazy that like we're in this world now. Like, this is the world we live in. Like, that's where people are getting their content. A lot of people might not watch every week, but they'll get what they see because they're scrolling through Instagram, scrolling through TikTok, on Twitter. And I just want to give you praise for that. And I'm asking you that because now we're going to also see like that you're not just this badass ass kicker. You're actually very smart, and you have that background as well. So like, it's super cool, and I think it does really matter in the space.
Thank you.
You said that when you were figuring things out, you created a vision board, and you wrote down your manifestations and things you wanted to achieve in the following year, and you achieved them all. Has that been updated? Is there?
It actually just updated 2 days ago.
Oh, look at that! Perfect timing.
Mania. After Mania week, I made another. This time I have 7, and one thing that a lot of my mentors have told me, and even Kobe said himself, sometimes you don't want to share all your goals with people because there's some haters out there, and some people are very malicious. So, I like to operate in silence. Although I do post my workouts, a lot of the goals that I have and the things that I do it in private, so that when I plant that seed, it'll actually grow. And I put another 7 goals that I have personally for mine. Some of them are actually just personal goals outside of wrestling. And then, the other 5 are what I want to do in that ring and what I want to accomplish. And this year I'm finna set this place on fire. Like I love where I'm at. I love the opportunities I'm getting. I love the people that I'm working with. And the galaxy, the universe is my limit. I'm not even reaching for the moon. I'm going past the moon. I had just chopped it up with some of the boys today. I talked to Omos, Odyssey, Reggie, Sydney, Apollo, all of them daily. And we're always talking about how we can get better. And I jokingly told them today, I was like, I will say this. I said, we were talking about tour buses. And I said, yo, when I become the megastar that I envision, I want a jet, yo. I want a jet. I want a jet to wherever I want to go. That's my goal. I want a jet. I said, I don't want to do a helicopter because, RIP, what happened to my boy Kobe. I don't mess with helicopters, but I want a private jet. I want a private jet. And, that's what I want. And that's my goal. And not one of them said, oh yeah, whatever. They were just like, I could definitely see that happening.
But that's so true. Like, about both those things. I actually really genuinely appreciate you saying that, because like sometimes you gotta be careful who you share your goals with, and the energy that you get back. I'm a big believer in the energy, man. Like if you feel like some sort of negative energy, like that's not good, like that person's probably not wishing the best for you. But look, you told these guys you wanted a jet, and everyone was like, okay, go get a jet, bro. Like, and that's what you need. You need that support group that got you, and I think that's super cool. I'm not going to ask you about any of your goals because I want you to keep them private.
You're going to see them. You're going to see them.
We'll see them. But I will say this: when a lot of them come to fruition, wow, I can't talk. Fruition. Fruition. You can come back on here and we can talk about that.
Oh, yeah, we definitely.
You know what I mean? We'll catch up and you can tell me that those were the goals on that list when I was on here last, and look what I've knocked down, because I believe you're going to do it too. I think.
Thank you. I appreciate
everything. Ever since I got introduced to you, like I did know who you were before. And like I said, I actually watched that battle. Right? I had an itching. I'm like, I'm on social media all the time. Like, I've seen you. I'm like, I know who this guy is. Obviously, mutual friends tried to connect us, and I did get to bump into you. And then we've been talking ever since. And I'm like, no, this guy's the man. Like, he's a good, like, you've been helpful to me. You've given me ideas for my own social media, which I'm like, oh, this is the man. Like, you should do this and you do that. I'm like, no, this is awesome. So I genuinely appreciate it. I appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to see what you're going to do. I think to wrap things up this time around, I just, if you had anything you wanted to let the people know out there about EJ Nduka, like if there is a warning message or a I don't know, just something you want the industry to know about you. And I'll be honest, I'll share this on the page today, this little clip. Does anything you want the industry to know about EJ Nduka, what to look out for, what would that be?
Firstly, I just want to say, Bethany, my wife, I love you. Exodus, I'm so proud of you. Every day you're teaching me something as well as learning. You are going to be an amazing young man. When you see this a number of years from now, just know that Daddy did all of this for you. And with that being said, the judge is planning to shock the world.
I love it. I love it. That was great. You're such a genuinely good dude. That's awesome. That being said, just really quickly before we wrap things up. So for those that are, because there are people that don't watch everything.
Yeah.
Where can they watch MLW? Where can they see this docu-series?
You guys can watch MLW every Thursday at 8:00 Eastern time. We do a great job on Twitter putting out that link. We're also on beIN Sports Saturdays, I believe, at 8 as well. And it used to be during the morning, but I think it moved to the evenings. You can follow me on Twitter at EJ the Judge. My Instagram is at EJ_. I also have a YouTube page that I put up some clips, workout advice, nutrition, fashion, all that kind of stuff. Just kind of who I am behind the scenes. And I'm just very grateful for you putting me on this platform. Man, you do a great job, bro. You're very authentic. You operate in your own space, and you do great. Like, this casual conversations is great. And I definitely envision you as a huge social media mogul, social media operator in your respective space, man. I see it for you, and it's going to happen because there's not that many people who genuinely care about this industry and care about the athletes. Some people just trying to get the inside scoop, trying to ask questions, super personal questions or questions about other people's business. One thing that EJ Nduka does is one thing that the Judge does is I operate in my own lane. If I'm looking in the other person's lane, I can't drive straight. If I'm worried about what the next person is doing, the Judge can't be great. So that's one thing that my parents taught me, the group that I'm in, because, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And if you're not where you're supposed to be at the right time, you might miss that blessing. And when I say I'm planning to shock the world, the ideas that I have for myself, the envision that I have for myself and the people that are around me, I think some crazy stuff is going to happen. And like I said, I wanted to say another huge shout out to Fed Films, man. Like, it's not just me. Like, I'll come up with an idea and I'm always thinking, I'm in the car cutting promos, I'm driving, I'll write it down on my phone and then I'll send it to Fed and he'd be like, oh shit, okay, let's do that. I'll send it to Emilio and Biff and they're like, oh, that's good. Or they'll send stuff to me and then I'll look into it and be like, okay, let's make that work. And so they've been so amazing and I'm thankful for them.
No, for sure. I think you're gonna do big things as well, man. I'm excited. Shout out to all those. Shout out to Emilio. He's a great dude. I shout him. I feel like I've shouted him out on like the last 3 episodes I've done, but I like those are guys I've known for a very long time, and we've always kind of known each other. I got to meet him a few years ago, properly at Wale Mania, which is always a blast. And he's just, like I like, and then, like, to your point, like there is different sides of wrestling media, and Emilio, Kaz, those guys are on that positive side. We're all on that, like, we want to promote professional wrestling. We want to help it out because we're fans of it. And we just want people to love it as much as we love it. It's not about the news.
And you can tell, man. You can tell. Yeah. When I met you, I can tell you're a real good dude. So I was like, because I haven't done a podcast in a long time.
Yeah.
But the other podcasts where if I'm going to do one, it's because I like the person or I think it's a good opportunity to kind of air out what I want to say. And so far, every person that I've, interviewed with, it's been tremendous, and you're a good dude too. And I think one of the things that I say all the time is, give people their flowers while they're alive.
100%,
the biggest thing is, we've had a number of people pass away this year, number of, tragedies and stuff. And I feel like, tomorrow's is our gift from God, but it's not promised. And so if you're in front of somebody, let them know you love them, let them know you appreciate them. And I tell the people around me that are pouring into me and that I'm pouring into them, but I appreciate them. I appreciate, and if you didn't do another thing for me, I would still love you and I appreciate you.
No, 100%. And I always say, it's people will never, it's not always about what you had or what you achieved for a lot of people. It's how you made them feel.
Exactly.
And, and that's why it is a big thing to remind people that you appreciate them or you love them or whatever it is. Even if at the time you're like, this is so random or you feel like it might be corny. Like, no, just say it because you know what? They might need to hear it and you don't even know. You never know. There's always room for positive affirmations. And I think you're a great dude. I'm so glad to see what you're going to be doing next. Everything you've shown me so far, I'm like I said, like, I don't even know how to describe them. Like, it's just badass. It's because I'm just whooping people's asses. It's been good. And then also, like, you have a great mind for like that is beneficial to this business. Like your mind for social media, your mind for creating content. And we live in a world of creating content now where content is everything. So, you know, a lot of wrestlers, they're really good at wrestling and what happens in that ring. And then they struggle with the content aspect of things because that's not their main focus, which is understandable sometimes, which is cool. I get
Very
it.
understandable.
But to continue to grow and adapt and to have more exposure to that content matters. And you're on top of both, which is, you know, that's pretty impressive. So, you're welcome. We'll definitely do this again. We'll definitely stay in touch, obviously. And I hope everybody enjoyed this show. I'll see you guys all next time. Ooh, yeah.
Really appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.